This is my comparative culture project. For my project, I researched the countries Russia, Mexico, and Afghanistan. I chose these three countries because they have become a big part of the United States politics within the last 10 years due to election interference, illegal immigration, and war. For better understanding, I thought it was essential to learn more about the culture in these three countries. Russia is a country whose culture is rich in the arts, with ballet being the most notable art form coming out of Russia. Ballet has been a part of Russian cultural identity since the 17th century, when Peter the Great, the former emperor of Russia, began a cultural revolution. Ballet became popular in Russia, and unlike in France, rich and poor alike developed Russia's ballet culture. Bolshoi Ballet Theater in Moscow is known throughout the world. We can see that art and music is an important part of Russian society from the opening pages of the book I Can See the Sun, Russia. I wake with the music of Swan Lake in my head. On the first page of I See the Sun, Russia, there is an illustration of a boy playing the violin. From the beginning of the book, you can see that music is an important part of Russian culture. The boy in the story wakes up and remembers the play Swan Lake, which he watched at the opera house with his mother. Swan Lake is a ballet composed by Tchaikovsky and is now one of the most popular ballets of all time. My heart fills with pride as I see the beautiful Hermitage Palace that is the jewel of our city. I See the Sun Russia mentions the Hermitage Palace, also known as the State Hermitage Museum, which is located in St. Petersburg. This palace was founded by Empress Catherine the Great, who acquired an impressive collection of paintings from Berlin merchant Godkowski. She hopes that one day I will play in the orchestra for the Mariinsky Theater. The Mariinsky Theater is a historical theater of opera and ballet in St. Petersburg, Russia. It was the most important musical theater in the late 19th century Russia, and many masterpieces made their premiere in this theater. However, the book doesn't only talk about Russian music, it also mentions a traditional Russian food. In the book, the boy eats solyanka for lunch at school. Solyanka is a spicy and sour soup made of pickled cucumbers with brine, as well as potatoes and cabbage. This dish originates from Russia but can be found in the Ukraine and other parts of the former Soviet Union. Russian education has three stages: primary education for 4 years, basic general education for 5 years, and secondary education, which lasts from 2 to 3 years. The Russian school year is split into 4 terms with short breaks between each term. In Russia, the school day normally starts at 8 a.m. and ends at 1 to 2 p.m. At 15, students in Russian schools can choose to either enter a vocational school or a non-university institute. The biggest difference between schools in Russia and the United States is the existence of vocational schools. While the United States has vocational schools, teachers and guidance counselors don't encourage students to attend them, and instead stress the importance of going to university. In addition, while students in Russia can go to vocational schools at the age of 15, students in the United States must graduate high school before attending a vocational school. When I enter the kitchen, I smell the hot sweet kajor that Abba has baked for breakfast. Afghanistan has many traditional foods which are largely based on the nation's biggest crops: wheat, maize, barley, and rice. Some of the most famous Afghan foods are traditionally fried dumplings called ashak, mastawa, a winter dish made with chickpeas, shortgrain rice, and mandi, and the one mentioned in the book is called kajor, an Afghan pastry made of leavened dough and caramelized oil made in a seed shape. On my way home from school, I see Atta meeting with other village elders in the mosque. They are very serious. Islam is the official religion of Afghanistan, and the majority of the population is Muslim at about 99.7%. Religion heavily influences culture in Afghanistan, from the food the locals eat to the clothes they wear. A mosque is a Muslim place of worship, and there are about 160,000 mosques in Afghanistan alone. This heavily influences the architecture of the country, making it more beautiful. Afghanistan's education system has been devastated by more than 3 decades of sustained conflict. When you search the word Afghanistan, the first thing that comes up is pictures of US soldiers in Afghanistan. War is the biggest barrier to education in Afghanistan. An estimated 3.7 million children are out of school in Afghanistan. 60% of them are girls. In some parts of the country, a shortage of schools and insufficient transportation are the main obstacles to education. Certain social cultural factors and traditional beliefs also undermine girls' education. Girls continue to marry young, 17% before their 15th birthday. Compared to the United States, the school system in Afghanistan is underfunded, and many of the school buildings sustain damage due to the constant conflict. Mama makes her special egg and tortilla breakfast for us. This is my favorite meal. One's family is considered one of the most important aspects of life for most Mexicans. The importance of family may be why students have a traditional lunch at home in the afternoon, typically only having snacks at school to tide them over. Most households consist of the nuclear family alone, but multi-generational living is still common in both rural and urban areas. In cities, this usually occurs among lower classes due to economic necessity. Mexican school consists of primary school, which lasts for 6 years, secondary school for 3 years, and high school for 3 years. Mexico spends about 5% of gross domestic product on education, but corruption prevents the money from being used for its intended purpose. Mexicans can choose to stop going to school at age 15. Only 46.68% of those between the ages of 15 to 19 attend school. However, the Mexican education system faces some problems. The first one is due to poverty. About 18% of the country lives in extreme poverty among the OECD countries. Mexico has one of the lowest rates of school enrollment among 15 to 19-year-olds, possibly because poverty drives them to find jobs rather than finish education. The second problem is shrinking education budgets. In 2014, the OECD noted that Mexico's annual expenditure on spending per student was below the OECD average. 3 years later, economic pressure had caused the Mexican government to cut their education budget by more than 11%, and teacher training programs had been reduced by 40%. There are a couple differences between the education system in the United States and Mexico. Literacy in the education system is more of an issue in Mexico than in the United States. The literacy rate in Mexico was less than 96% in 2000, while it was about 98% in the United States for those over the age of 15. The United States provides free education for students until grade 12 with free textbooks. In Mexico, the states must provide education up until upper secondary school. However, after grade 6, families must pay for textbooks. Though most people tend to sum up the continent of Africa into a single country, there are 53 countries in Africa and 2,000 spoken languages. Some of the most spoken languages include Swahili, Arabic, and French. Skin tones come in many shades, hair types vary, and there are multiple clothing differences across the continent. If there is one similarity between countries in Africa, it is the traditional food. Rice has become a major staple food in sub-Saharan Africa. As economic growth and urbanization steer African food preferences towards rice and away from traditional food, sub-Saharan Africa rice imports will increase in demand, outpacing supply. The import of rice in Africa is expected to surpass Asia. As a result, Africa has produced various rice dishes, and some of them can be found in multiple countries. Jollof rice is enjoyed in many African countries. Nigeria and Ghana are known for their love of jollof rice and often argue over which country makes the best jollof rice. The level of education in Africa varies drastically between its richest and its poorest countries. As of 2018, 75% of people between ages 15 and 24 are literate in Africa's richest country, Nigeria. However, in one of Africa's poorest countries, Somalia, the literacy rate is 5.4%. In Africa, it is very common for students to walk miles to their school buildings. In the American education system, school attendance is required. However, many countries in Africa do not require children to go to school, as they need to help their families make money. Another difference is in security. Schools in America are more accessible compared to those in Africa and have higher levels of security. School kidnappings have become a problem in many African schools, particularly in Nigeria. Boko Haram, a jihadist terrorist organization based in northeastern Nigeria, kidnapped over 260 girls in Chibok in 2013. They were then forced to convert to Islam. Similar events continue to happen in Nigeria. In February of this year, 300 boys were abducted from a secondary school in northern Kankara. Less than a week after this kidnapping, over 300 girls were kidnapped from a school in Zamfara state, killing 53 people in the process.